This is Angela Grayson from the Loving Life Fitness podcast to help others in their fitness journey. All possible.
It's time to wake up. Here we go.
Hello, everyone. This is Angela Grayson coming at you from the Loving Life Fitness podcast, where I talk to professionals and everyday people about health and fitness to try to give you inspiration to live your best life. And today we have on the show Kenny Crowell, and he's going to share with us some facts about his life and how he's gotten to where he is today in health and fitness, and maybe even share more. So hi, Kenny. How are you today?
Hi, Angela. I'm great. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you saying yes. So Kenny, let's go back to when you were a kid. Born and raised in upstate New York. I come from Long Island, so we got something in common there. Tell us about your life in sports maybe, or what got you going in the direction to be able to be outside and be with your friends. Go ahead.
Sure. So it's funny. So my life and mostly my fitness journey has had ebbs and flows. So as most kids kind of growing up in the 80s, I was a latchkey kid. So I'd come home from school, get on my bike, meet my friends. We'd play every sport under the sun, from hockey to basketball to football to baseball. So I was always very active growing up. I was always in great shape. I loved sports. I played sports all through high school, mostly in track and baseball. And then when I went to college, to a community college local to where I lived, and there was no sports program there, so I kind of just stayed active with my friends, playing pickup games and whatnot. And then from there is where I kind of, after college, I took a job in the city where, everyone who lives in upstate New York likes to go to, into the city to work, where the money is. And that's where I found that when you don't stay active and when you keep your food lifestyle on say, it catches up to you. So I'll touch on that a little later, but growing up, I think the benefits of kind of being a latchkey kid, which I've found now having two kids of my own, were a little more controlling, like where I was always out. I was always, like I said, playing every sport you could think of. So I had the ability to be around my friends all the time, even after school, socializing. And I think that was really an important part of just me growing up and getting back into the fitness space when I kind of put on a bunch of weight and lost it all again. Yeah, so that was kind of my childhood, latchkey kid, playing sports my whole entire life, being around friends, and having really an enjoyment of the outdoors as well. So especially upstate New York. I mean, I live next to the mountains. So it was outstanding.
Absolutely. So you had said something about your lifestyle when you started working in the city, that you were going down maybe the wrong path as far as your health and fitness was concerned. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So I was in the legal space, so we would help law firms kind of work, like manage their documents for lawsuits. So it's a lot of rushing around, especially lawyers in New York City don't like to wait. So a lot of running around all day. So you're eating on the run, you're grabbing what you can. So the morning, New York City, the morning was a bagel, because of course, or an egg sandwich, because they're delicious. So I'd have one of those and some coffee, and then you'd be snacking through the day just to stay full. And then for lunch, you're having sandwiches, and for dinner, you're entertaining clients. So you're out drinking and you're eating bar food. And it was kind of like the frog in the water. Like I didn't know I was putting all that weight until one day I picked up my passport and I looked at the picture and I was like, who is this? And it was just happened to be a bad picture and a bad day. So that was around 2008, I think, is when I was probably at my heaviest. I think I got up to around 215-ish pounds. And it was not in the 215 pounds of muscle. It was the opposite direction. So being a kid who had always been active and playing sports, and then seeing what my lack of doing had done to myself, I decided, I was like, it's time for a change. So I kind of slowly started exercising again, nothing crazy. It was more like just adjusting my food. I think that's what it was. And just instead of taking the van to go see clients in the city, I would walk something over. So it started with little steps. And then eventually I got married, and then the wedding was coming. So my wife was doing the whole, like, she's going to exercise every day for, until the wedding so she can fit into that dress. And I was like, okay, I'll join you. And then I lost some weight. Wasn't great. I still look at the wedding pictures and I'm kind of like, I wish I had, done a little more. Again, taking steps in the right direction. And then we had our first kid. And the first time you have a kid, it's the eat for two mentality for both the husband and the wife, because she was craving, ice cream or, pizza or whatever it may be. And, living in New York, it's very easy to eat those delicious things because everything is delicious. So I got put on weight again. And then finally, my wife was having problems taking the weight off. So, and for me, when I started just walking and adjusting my diet, I had an easy time taking weight off. So she said, let's do the carnivore diet. No, it wasn't carnivore. I'm sorry. The caveman diet. And that's where I found my love of black coffee, because you can't have any sugar or milk, dairy products in the beginning. So we started doing that diet. It worked fantastic for me. I shed a bunch of weight. She was having problems with it, but that kind of kickstarted to me going, oh, it really is the food I'm eating that's doing a lot of what's going on in my body. So I really got my diet in check probably right after my first kid was born in 2014-ish. So 2015 is when I really stepped up my game when it came to fitness. And then one of my good friends was doing a Spartan race. So I know you had Heather Tran on, and I met her when I first moved down to go to Fitness One. She was one who signed me up, and I saw the Spartan t-shirt and we chatted about that. But that's where I did my first Spartan race, and I fell in love with it. Lucky for me, where I lived in New York, the majority of the races, the three different ones they do, were all 20 minutes from my house.
Nice.
So I didn't have to travel hours to go to these things, which some people do. And I knew that if I was going to really enjoy these races and challenge myself, I needed to really start training for it. So that's where my life really took the 180 turn to back onto the, get my life in gear. I now have one kid, want to have more. I don't want to be the dad you see at the ball game who looks like he's going to have a heart attack. I was like, I don't need that. I want to be around for my kids as long as possible. So I started running, and that's where I kind of fell back into my love for running, because I ran cross country in high school, and running is one of those things where you stop. I was eating so much running because I'm running in high school and I'm running, 15 miles, 20 miles, and then you stop running and you keep eating, the garbage. So I got back into running hills, running mountains, and then the weight was falling off. And that's when I said to myself, it can be done. It's not an impossible journey. It's just dedication. It's just doing something a little bit every day. Mm-hmm. And when I first started running again, I didn't run half a marathon. I ran a mile, and it was mostly walking. I would jog a little, I would walk a little, I would jog a little, walk a little. And like I said before, it's baby steps. It kind of got me to where I am now. And I run almost every day. My morning runs, get my coffee, and come home. So
absolutely. That's great. How far do you run?
So now that I've been noticing getting a little older and breaking down a little more, because now I'm really trying to also implement more strength training, which I did negate for a while because I was running so much. I've been trying to cut it back from where I was probably running 5 to 6 miles, 5 to 6 days a week. So now I'll run about 3 miles or so, 5 days a week. So I try to hit 15 miles a week is kind of my goal now. Want to hit around the 600 to 700 miles a year is what I want to hit. I tried to do 2,000 one year, and my body told me to stop. So that's another thing. It's important. Listen to your body. It's some people want to push through it, but in the long run, especially for me, like I said, getting back into strength training in my late 30s is when I started getting back into it. It's better to listen to your body and rest than push it, get hurt, and now you're set back 3 weeks because you can't do anything. So yeah, a lot of lessons learned through this journey. It's not impossible to get back into these things.
Absolutely. And do you find that the strength training is helping you with your running? I mean, not as far as, going farther, but strength-wise?
So I've found, oddly enough, I shouldn't say oddly enough, it actually makes total sense. I have lower back issues. I've had them for because like I said before, my career was documents in New York City. And before everything became electronic based, I would be picking up boxes every day, hundreds of them. And when you're young, you think you're invincible and you don't think to bend at the knees. So I've had lower back issues ever since, really. So that's also why I also strayed away from a lot of the strength training, because I was always afraid to hurt myself. But once I kind of said to myself, you read the studies and you hear everybody talk about how once you hit even over 30, your bone density starts to go down. And I said, I don't need to, I've watched family members get older and haven't done anything, and they can barely walk and they're 80 years old. Like, that's not going to be me.
Yeah.
So I really got back into strength training, and it's if anything, it's helped my back. So I started with just doing bodyweight squats, and I had a kettlebell. So I would just do like kettlebell deadlifts, and I would just make sure that I was focusing on proper movements and really strengthening like that core part of my back. And it's been a night and day difference. Now I can go on longer runs now if I do longer runs and my back doesn't hurt. Where if I was doing longer runs, while it was great, I can run because I was, maybe I was 6 pounds lighter. I could run longer. I was leaner, but my back would hurt. Right now, I can do these things and it doesn't hurt anymore. So
sounds like you did it the right way. Yeah. I try to get people with different kinds of injuries to work their muscles in a way to where it'll help strengthen the joint that's an issue. And in the long run, it's going to help. Yeah, especially if you use proper form, or if you don't know the proper form, get someone to help you who can show you and make sure you do it right. Sometimes we think we're doing it right, but somebody else is watching you and it's like, no, or look in the mirror. Yeah.
And that's the one good thing about at least my personality. I've never been afraid either to ask people things. So the gym can be extremely intimidating for people, especially if they've never been there before. I get it, because especially as a young kid being at the gym, like I was in high school in the weight room, and you're like, I have to put a lot of weight on here. I have to look like I'm strong. And people have that mentality going to the public gyms. Like they think they have to look like they're not weak, so they wind up hurting themselves. Or they'll go, oh, I've never deadlifted before, but I feel like I'm strong. Let me put on 250 pounds and see if I can do it. And then something cracks. They go, oh. So I've never been afraid to ask somebody, am I doing this right? Like I'll go to a trainer and say, like, does this look right to you? Like, I just want to make sure I'm not going to hurt myself. I'll go and I'll put only on 10-pound plates, on bumper plates on the thing, and to practice my form to make sure I'm doing it right. Because I'm getting too old to hurt myself and be out of commission for a month. And this is something I need to do every day. And my wife knows but I haven't worked out. Please go do something. I'm like, okay, I will.
So you had said that you met Heather Tran at the gym, the fitness one where I used to work also. That's great. And she was into Spartan racing. I think she still is, as a matter of fact. Did you ever do any of the races with her?
So I have not. No, we had talked about it once, because I saw them doing the Spartan training out in that back field area. And I was trying to join the team, but there were so many things going on with our new son. And it was really one of those things where if I was doing the race, I was literally getting up just enough time to get there, do the race, get in the car, and come home. Okay. So I never really even did any of the races with anyone except for my one buddy who got me into it. Mm-hmm. And funny story on that, it was my first race ever was the sprint, which was the short one. It's like a 5K. I think it's like 15 obstacles or something like that.
What were the obstacles?
So the obstacles, so people don't realize the obstacles in this are very strength, they're forearm and grip strength. So while the walls you jump over, they're 6-foot walls, they're fun. You pick up, carry the bucket full of gravel. It hurts, but you put it down, you pick it up. But the monkey bars I found were one of those things where I had a deficit. I didn't know. I was like, oh, I used to do monkey bars as a kid. This is easy. And then when you don't realize, when you just run 2 miles, and you haven't really exercised them forever, and everything's kind of achy, you're sweaty and wet. I jumped on that first monkey bar, and I was like a kid in the movie. I went like this and slipped back and just landed on my back. So that was a lot of fun. They have, there's the A-frame wall you got to climb over. But I mean, it's like I said, a lot of monkey bar stuff, a lot of rope swings, the rings, you got to do the ring swings. Those are fun. The most challenging part of it is for someone who is a runner who wants to do these races, they think that, oh, I run, I can do the Spartan races. Oh, I'm like, I had my buddy who used to run a lot. He wanted to do the short one with me one day. And he's like, I can run a 7-minute mile pace for a 5K. I'm like, that's great. When you're doing this race, just know it's going to take you at least 40 minutes to do the 3 miles. He's like, no way. I'm like, okay. And then right around 40, 45 minutes is when we want to finish the race. Because I'm like, you don't realize like you're tiring yourself out. Like you're doing burpees, you miss something. You're sitting an obstacle and you're swinging. It takes up time. All these things take time, and then you're tired. So you're like, I need a minute to rest. And so they're a lot of fun. They're more fun to do with people. I've only done a few with folks, and the rest were all just by myself. But it's a great way to challenge yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way to push yourself. People think they can't do it. I've seen people run those races where you wish them the best. Like, I hope you can complete this. And then you see them come down the finish line and they cross and you're like, good for you. I mean, people, they can do it. You can push the body. The body can do so much more than people think it can do. The reason most people quit is because their brain quits on them. And it happens to me. There are times I'm running and I'm like, I'll just go back to the car. And I'm like, what are you doing? Just keep going. Just keep going. You keep going and you're fine. You get through it. But I mean, the mentally, is the hardest thing to push yourself when you're uncomfortable. But it's also the only way to get better.
Which teaches us also in everyday life. If we apply those rules in sport to everyday life, you can go a lot farther in life. Just keep on pushing through. It's going to happen.
Absolutely. And a good example of that was after my first initial Spartan race. He's a friend, but he was also at the time he was a client, and he was a good client. And he said, "Oh, you did a Spartan race? I do Spartan races. You're going to run the ultra Spartan race with me." And I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what that is. I've done one. He goes, it's a 50K Spartan race with like 70 something obstacles, and it's through the ski mountain. I was like, you're out of your mind. I'm not doing that. He's like, well, then I'm not going to give you business. And I said, well, it looks like we're running a race. So that was actually, and I do give him a lot of credit for, he kickstarted also my running. Beside for me getting back into Spartan races, that was a good kickstart I needed, because I said, if I'm going to run 31 point whatever miles up and down a ski mountain, I better be ready. Like, this isn't one of those things where I can kind of like, I can fake it till I make it type thing. So benefits of living upstate New York. Like I said, I live next to a mountain. So the mountain community by me, it was from the bottom of the mountain all the way to the top house, when it was probably just over a mile. And I would run that back and forth, for an hour. And then I'd go to the park and I would do lunges for like a soccer field length. I worked my leg strength, and then I would do forearm exercises and I would do pull-ups, just because I was like, I need to know that I can run the mountain and I can do the monkey bars. Those are the most important thing. So we start the race, we fired up, we're ready to go. He gets to mile 6 and he's like, I can't do it anymore. And I was like, what? Well, looks like I'm finishing the race alone. So I did the rest of the race by myself. And
congratulations.
Thank you. But it took, again, back to mentally being tough about it. I took everything for me not to go, oh, I'll go down the mountain with you. Like, oh, yeah, we're done. Let's go. I said, you know what? I'm going to keep trudging along. If I see you down there, great. If you want to go home, I'll see you next week.
Yeah. Awesome.
Finish the race.
So behind you, I know my listeners can't see, but behind you, you have all kinds of ribbons and all kinds of stuff going on back there. Is one of those from your Spartan race, your ultra?
So this is some of the ultra right here. It's also a nice belt buckle.
Nice.
And then I did one more ultra, which over here, which no one can see, I know, but it's like a purple one.
Nice. Very nice.
And then that one was the last Spartan race I had done.
Yeah. So Kenny, you're very proud of your accomplishments, and you should be.
I am. It's a long journey to get there. It was a lot of physical and mental anguish during some of those times. So the last one I had done was the Thanksgiving before COVID hit. It was in South Carolina, and it was it was North Carolina. I moved it to North Carolina. It was at a horse ranch through the mountains in the Carolinas. Same client / friend was like, let's do this one. I'll do it with you. We'll fly over and we'll go. Great. He backed out the day before. So He's 0 for 2 when it comes to these things.
But oh my gosh, was he a great motivator for you, even though
Was.
he didn't complete the races? That's incredible. I hope he listens to this podcast. Maybe next time he'll complete his race.
Well, I'll see. But but that was another one where it was, I woke up in the morning. And when I got there, it was wasn't cold, but it wasn't warm. It was November in North Carolina. Next morning, I wake up. It's dark. It's raining. It's 40 degrees. And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, what am I doing? So the way they had it set up was, it was 2 loops of their longest normal race, which is just the regular beast. And when you're finished the first loop, you go to the station where you can refuel your stuff, you can fill the water, you can take a break. And they had a fire going, and I was already wet and cold, and I was there, and I was like, I could just stay here. I could get warm. And then to leave to go back in the race, it wasn't like you just go. It was like 100-foot. They had it was a drainage tube, one of those big plastic ones, and you had to crawl under that 100 feet to get back into the race. And I'm like, why would I do this to myself? But I've always had, and I don't know if this will help some people, but whenever I'm doing something that's extremely difficult and I know there's an end to it, like one of these races, I always say to myself, how are you going to feel when you wake up tomorrow and knowing that at that same time you could have done the race? Like, are you going to feel great that you went home and you didn't complete it? Or are you going to feel amazing when you wake up, even though you're going to be sore and you're going to be achy, and you're going to be tired through the race? When you wake up in the morning, that feeling of accomplishment for something that's so difficult. It's like that, the runner's high. You feel euphoric when you're done. And it was, the amount of food I ate afterwards was probably record breaking, but
Well, that's okay. You earned it.
Yeah,
Your body needed.
it 100% did.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Just so you know, and so the listeners know, I also did a recording with Heather, the inspiration for you to do some Spartan racing. So if you get a chance, go ahead and listen to the recording with her. You'll enjoy that. She talks a little bit about the Spartan races, besides many other things. She's a great trainer and a good friend and a good one to listen to. All right. So besides your client, who was a great inspiration to you because he was going to pull out on you and not be your client anymore, what other people in your life were inspirations to you at different points to not only help you with your health and fitness, but motivators in life in general?
Obviously, I would be remiss not to say my mother is probably my biggest motivator. Growing up, she was a single mom, 3 kids. She worked 3-4 jobs sometimes, hence being a latchkey kid. She was always working, but we understood. And it's funny now having kids of my own and, going out to eat a couple times a week, and they complain, I don't want to go here, I don't want to go there. I'm like, you don't understand. When I was a kid, I couldn't tell you when I went out once to eat dinner as a family. We ate at home every night. We couldn't afford to go out ever. So watching my mom and all the work she put in and how hard she struggled just to keep a roof over our heads and to make sure we always had food and we never really wanted for much was a huge inspiration for me for my hard work and my work ethic. So that's number one. Number 2 would probably be my 2 cousins and my uncle, their father. Growing up, my mom and dad divorced when I was young. So my dad worked a job that was a second shift job, so he was never around. Saw him on the weekends, like everyone sees their one of their other parents in a divorce. But mostly it was my mom, and I'd see my dad once in a while. So my father figures in life were my older cousins and my uncle, and they really kept me on a really good path in life. Because it's easy when you're young and you don't have a father to kind of fall into the wrong group of friends or the wrong path and walk down it. And I was always so afraid to disappoint them that I never, to this day, I pride myself on never having once smoked a cigarette in my entire life, because they always told me they never did, which they might have just told me they never did. And I was like, I'm never disappointed. And they really did kind of keep me motivated to not disappoint. So that was good. And then to this day, my uncle had passed probably when I was, I think, by 2005. And that was tough. That was like losing my father. But he instilled such great values in me that even to this day, when you see the cardinal, you think of someone you love, and when I see a cardinal fly by, I think of him. And it's funny. So my littlest one, my wife loves Elton John, but my littlest one says Uncle John instead of Elton John, and he's my Uncle John. So I don't correct him. I'm like, keep saying Uncle John, buddy. It makes me happy. So those are my 4 main motivators. And then obviously my wife keeps me in check, keeps the household in order. I tend to, as most men do, I tend to go off on things where I'm like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. She reels me in, says, let's take a breath, think about it first. And if you still, in the next week, you still want to do this, let's talk about it. I'm like, okay.
Cool. I like
and then for kind of the rest of the backfill everything, my 2 kids. So they keep me motivated to stay in shape. They keep me motivated to stay healthy. I want to be able to continue to, carry them to bed when they fall asleep on me. And it's getting harder for my biggest one now, who's going to be 10 next month. So he's getting bigger.
They grow
and bigger.
so fast, don't they? I know. Right before your eyes. It's like, how did that happen?
Oh,
yeah.
I feel like yesterday we had our first kid, and now he's, like I said, he's going to be 10. We had Cooper when we moved down here, 6 years ago. So time flies.
Absolutely. So now that you're living in Florida instead of New York State, of course, our terrain is a lot different here than there. Do you ever wish you had those mountains to run up, or are you just happy with flat land now? You're good?
So it's funny. I do love elevation. And it's the one, we moved down here, the one thing I didn't miss anything else, obviously non-family friend related. I missed the mountains. Mm-hmm. I love the mountains. I love running the mountains. I love hiking the mountains. Mm-hmm. But I also like running along the ocean every day. And when I'm done, especially in the summers, I'm done running, I can jump in the water. I can cool off. I mean, you can't beat that. But when I go back to New York and I go see family, I still bring my running shoes and I'll go run the mountain, the same mountain I trained on. And last time I went, it was funny. I used to pass this one guy during my Spartan training. And every day he would come out and he'd see me run. He's like, "You're still running?" I'm like, "I'm still running." And then he saw me last time I was there about, I think it was over the summer. And he's like, "Hey, wait a minute." He's like, "I remember you."
You're still running.
Like, I am.
Yes, not many people can say that. They usually just lose interest or have injuries. You've been okay with that? You haven't had any injuries or setbacks?
I'm knocking on wood right now.
Okay, good.
I have not, aside from the back issues that flare up once in a while. But now I've gotten to the point now where I kind of know when I'm feeling a little uneasy on my back, and I can know what not to do and what to do to let it kind of go away. So yeah, it's my sciatic. So whenever I move the wrong way, I get that pain where I want to fall to the ground. Mm-hmm. But I've been very good at figuring out how to keep it stretched, keep it loose. I'd say the hardest part right now that I've found, and it's because I'm doing all this stuff, my flexibility. I've been really trying to work on my flexibility. I'm probably going to start taking yoga classes because I think that'll benefit my back also because I'll be able to stretch things. But 2, I can tell, like I'm in the shower trying to get my back, and I'm like, man, I can't reach for HDL. Reach back in the day. I'm like, this is good.
So also strength training has an effect on our flexibility. So there has to be, make sure there's a balance. You're not only working one side of the muscle, but you're working the other side of the muscle too. Yep. Keeping that healthy balance with strength training. And also I found working with my clients that stretching is important for flexibility, but I think that stretching through motion is also better. Like, let's say you're doing yoga, and instead of just holding the poses, going through the poses.
Yeah.
Instead of holding them, flexibility, stretching with motion really helps to loosen up the joints and make the muscles stretch in different ways. So you might want to try that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that. I mean, again, being someone who was getting back into this world so late in the game, like I'm like a sponge for information, and like it's funny if you go through my Instagram feed, it's like all fitness and it's all
that's what you're into. That's great. So you had mentioned in your bio to me that you play golf. You're an avid golfer.
I am.
Yeah. So how often do you get to play Probably not as often as you want to, but
Not as long as I want to. I always say, like, I have those people who are like, when I retire, I don't want to retire because I'm not gonna know what to do with myself. Like, I want to retire now because I'll go golfing every day. Like, I'll
I used to always say that I want to retire when I'm young. And then when I get older and I'm bored and my body can't do all the things that I want to do, then I'll work and I'll pay back everything.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
So like I find that I probably try to get out once a week, which having a remote job, I have the flexibility. I'm in sales, so if my phone's on me, I'm still able to do my job.
Mm-hmm.
So and luckily I have some clients who like to golf, so it works out where I get to go once a week, which is
Good.
more than most people get to do.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things also where it keeps me outside.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest son's getting into it. He loves it. So now I get to, sneak him out of the house for 4 hours and makes my wife happy because now there's one less maniac in the house causing trouble.
Maniac. That's great. So does your golf swing affect your back issues?
So it doesn't. It does not affect my back issues. If my back is hurting, I can't. So it's like my back hurts. I'll push everything off to the right because I'm not turning. I'm not turning as fast, so everything's getting pushed. But I've also found back to the strength training, and it's helped my golf game tremendously because my back is now stronger. But not only that, my entire body's strong. So I'm hitting the ball farther at 41, almost 42 than I did in my 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
By far. And I had the same driver for the past 15 years. So I know it's not the driver.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. I've been working with a client for quite a few years now, and he's an avid golfer. And his game has just done so well since he started strength training. And today he made a comment that him and his buddies, for the first time, went and played golf after being off for a few weeks. And he was the only one that could last. Everybody else was dropping out because they hadn't played for a few weeks.
Yeah.
So he was really happy about himself that he was able to continue and keep playing. Yeah, everybody else was dropping out and complaining.
Well, that's the thing too. People don't realize when you keep your body in motion, it's going to keep working. When you stop, it's like I equate it to everything. If you stop like gears, they're eventually going to rust. So
yeah, and especially as we get older, it's inevitable. You've got to keep moving. Got to.
Yeah, and there are times where if I'm not feeling well, if I'm sick, I used to have the mentality of like, push through it. But now I know I'm like, this is not going to benefit me in the long run. Take one day. Mm-hmm. Take a day. If you feel better, great. But I'll find if I take a couple of days and I go back into it, it's, I'm tired or it's not as good of a workout or a run as it was. And I was in my stride of, staying on top of it every day. Mm-hmm. So again, as I said, as I get older, it's harder and harder where mile 1 used to be the mile that was like, all right, shake the rust off and get out there. Now it's after mile 3 where I'm kind of like, oh, now I'm in a groove.
Yeah. So tell us, what's your morning routine like?
So again, with the benefits of having both kids going to the same school on the bus and having a remote job, I get to enjoy getting my kids ready in the morning, getting them on the bus, and then go straight to the beach. I'll do my morning run, which is, like I said, usually now it's in the range of like 3 to 5 miles. I try to at least do a short walk on the beach, shoes off, kind of get my, ground myself a little bit, put my feet in the sand. But one also, it's a good cool down as a beach walk, especially after a run. You're still kind of working different muscles and your leg at the same time while cooling down. If it's the summer, I'll jump in the water and do a swim for a little bit. Nothing crazy because I'm terrified of sharks, but I'll wade in the water and kind of swim around a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But then after that, I'll get my morning coffee, which like I said earlier, I now have a love for black coffee. So, and now living in Florida, I can't drink hot coffee anymore for some reason. So I'll drink a cold brew and black coffee, have that, feel great, go home and start my day for work. Yeah, and as you know, I built the home gym. You see when I leave my garage door open.
Yes, I'm very envious. You have a very nice home gym.
Thank you. It was a long process of kind of building everything that I wanted. But again, I get to get up after doing some work, and I can go for 10 minutes and do pull-ups or do body squats or do whatever it is. I have that fan bike. If I do that, I can't do a call afterwards, so I'll be out of breath for the next 10 minutes. But But that's another benefit of, having, a remote job and having a home gym. But even if I didn't have the home gym, people think you need all this stuff to stay in shape, and you don't. The amazing workout you can get from just doing bodyweight exercises.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I got back into getting my back stroke. It started me just doing body squats.
Yeah.
And then I bought a weight vest, and I put that on. Then I do body squats with that. And then I said, okay, now I'll go back and I'll start doing light bar squats, and then I'll do like dumbbell squats. But I didn't need it. It was great to have it. And you can do so much. Try to do 100 body squats in a row and tell me you're not sore.
Yeah.
Tired or out of breath. Or you
Definitely. Yeah. You don't need a lot of equipment. The equipment I have in my garage is not much, but I get great workouts for my clients, for myself. Really works out really good. Yeah. You don't need a big, huge gym with every single piece of equipment in there.
No, I mean, like I said, it's nice.
Yeah.
Great to have it, because then if I'm like, oh, you know what? I haven't done this workout. Let me get, this piece of equipment and do this. It's awesome to have. I mean, I will say the one thing that I do love, and I don't use it as much as I used to, is I have Torque makes it. It's a push sled. It's has a resistance motor in it. So it's on wheels. We live in an HOA, so you can't just have a regular push sled and grind it up and down the street. People are not going to like you. So I said to myself, they sell one, it's on wheels. It's got a resistance motor in it. Try that. And I love it. I don't use it as much as I should, but I love it.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that helped with my back also, because when I couldn't do the heavy squats or squatting, I would bring that to the park, and I would push that up and down the football field and do a lot of reverse walking with it, because luckily I've never had, again, knock on wood, I haven't had knee issues. So everything I can do to strengthen my knees, I do also, because I know as a runner, it just takes one wrong move.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I have a blown out knee.
Wrong move, uneven ground, bad shoes, all that stuff.
Yeah. That's another thing I'm not happy about, is the amount of shoes I go through as a runner.
Oh, well. Could be worse.
It could be a lot worse. I told her, I said, listen, if my habit is running and I have some sort of money on, at least it's not gambling and drugs, okay?
Yeah. And you're not buying a new golf club every week, are you?
No, I'm not. I've been the same driver for the past 15 years. So.
That's not so bad then. Okay.
No.
So you talked a little bit earlier about nutrition.
Yeah.
So what does your day look like as far as nutrition goes? People seem to get into the habit of mostly eating the same thing or just about the same thing every day to make it easy.
Guilty.
Yeah. So tell us about your diet.
So again, and everybody is different, but I found that what works best for me is I will do a fast. So I don't eat until around noon. I try to stop eating. As latest I'll eat is 8. I'll sometimes stop eating like 6, 7 o'clock. And I feel that for me, because when I do eat, I eat. So it helps me stay in my caloric window that I need to be in. Because if I start eating 3 meals a day, I would 100% be over that. It does consist of, every day my staples are, like you said, people eat the same thing, and I'm a creature of habit. So I'll have 4 to 6 eggs with an avocado, sometimes a protein. For me, the protein doesn't matter if it's lean or if it's not. It could be a few strips of bacon. It could be turkey. It could be salami. It doesn't matter. But I try to stay away from the bread, because that is the one thing that gets me every time. My wife can have bread and it doesn't affect her like it affects me. I have a slice of bread, I feel like garbage, and an hour later, and I'm like, I'm sluggish. So for me, it's more, I try to stay lower on the carb end. I don't do any keto stuff just because I can, because I do love salads and I love vegetables and fruits, and that would definitely put me over. So, but I do try, like I said, I try to have that amount of eggs every day with an avocado, with the protein other times. And then dinner is usually a protein of some sort, a vegetable and a salad. I'll snack on fruit throughout the day. I love apples, love bananas. I love I don't know if I have one here, the little epic little sriracha chicken bars. These things are delicious. Yeah, I wish they were a little cheaper, but they're delicious. So for me, I'm also a nervous snacker. So it's hard because it's like I used to be 215, 220 pounds. So for me, it's very easy to fall back in that rut.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is just making sure that if I am snacking on something, it's something it's healthy. Like I'll have, like I said, one of these chicken bars, or I'll have some almonds, or I'll eat an apple, a spoonfuls of peanut butter sometimes. But again, you have to be careful of the peanut butter you buy now. Because also I started looking back and I'm like, how much sugar is this? Why are they putting sugar in peanut butter?
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to read everything.
You do, and again, like I said, I run a lot, so I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I listen to a lot of health podcasts. And then there's things you hear and it scares you. You're like, wait a minute, what about when we make pasta? What's in this? What's going on with our GMOs and all? So now everything I look at, I'm like staring at the label, especially for my kids, because I don't want to form bad habits. It's super easy.
Yeah, and there's so much added sugar to everything now, things that you wouldn't expect it to be in. Sauces and gravies and jarred spaghetti sauce. It's like, so anything you can make from scratch, you're so much better off. And people also need to watch recipes. You look up recipes online to make things, and I'm noticing that there is sugar as an ingredient on almost every single recipe. Add sugar to stews and soups, and what?
I know.
When did this start? So it's hard for young people who are trying to teach themselves to cook. They look up recipes and all this added stuff. So you really got to be careful with the ingredients too.
You do it. And I was fortunate where my wife, her dad was a chef, and she grew up around like making food, and she can put together, she'll go in the fridge and start pulling stuff out, and she'll make a soup she made it out of kale and other vegetables she found, and no sugar in it, but there's lentils in it. And you're like, this is delicious. And there's nothing terrible in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it tastes great.
Yeah.
Like, well, this is the benefit of being around food your whole life and knowing like the different things and what you can add and what you can make out of it. And you're right. It's tough. Again, my Instagram is fitness people and there's food because of all like this food stuff. And it is, a lot of the stuff it's just sugars and everything.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah, there's definitely other ways to cook with seasonings and herbs. Yeah, definitely.
Our New Year's goal in the house is we used to have the swing set in the back. The last hurricane we had blew it to pieces. So we're making a garden back there, and we're going to grow a vegetable garden. So that's our new thing. Our youngest could live on cucumbers. So we're making sure we stock it full of cucumbers because he'll eat 4 cucumbers a day, this kid.
Oh, that's great you said that, because one of my later questions was going to be, what's one of your new lifestyle changes for 2024? So I'm glad you mentioned that. And let me tell you a little something about my experience in gardening.
Yeah.
I've always had a compost bin. And in that compost bin, I throw cuttings of whatever vegetables that I'm not using, the skins of everything, the seeds of everything, that all goes in the compost bin, banana skins, everything from the kitchen, from vegetables that you're not going to use, tea bags even, you throw your tea bags, your coffee grounds in there. And I have the nicest bin that you just throw it in there, you close the latch, and it gets spun. And along with that, you throw in greenery from the yard. Could be leaves, could be cut grass that you have caught in a bag, raked up leaves, anything. No weeds, though. Don't put no weeds in there. And you just let it go. And as time goes by, usually about 4 to 6 months of putting scraps in there and turning it, you have a nice compost material that you can mix in your garden, in your flower beds, if you have a raised bed, in your raised bed. And I take that compost and I spread it in my backyard, in my flower beds. I also have a raised bed. I put it in there. I never have to buy seeds because up will pop tomato plants. I've had butternut squash. I have a pepper plant that won't stop producing bell peppers. It's just going crazy. I have a box full of sweet potatoes that my granddaughters helped me pick in November. As long as you don't wash them, they'll stay nice.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, don't wash them and they'll stay forever. So I'm still eating out of my box of sweet potatoes. I have 2 eggplants growing, and I'm telling you, this is all out of the compost. Never have to buy a plant, never have to buy seeds. And another thing you can do in your garden is pineapples. Every time you buy a pineapple, cut off the top and just set it in the dirt outside and leave it alone. Within 2 to 3 years, you'll have a pineapple, which I know is a long time. But if every time you buy a pineapple, you plant the top anywhere in your yard, they're pretty.
Yeah.
And you'll have pineapples every June, July. I usually have so many I can't eat them all. I share them with people.
Yeah, I love that's one of my things I buy all the time is pineapples. And so now
Yeah.
and it's like you see the videos of people putting them, and I'm like, it takes so long for one pineapple. But to your point,
They're
if you
so
plant 7 of them,
they're so juicy.
yeah,
Anything that you will pick out of your yard to eat is going to taste so much better than anything you grow in the grocery store.
absolutely. And we used to have in New York when we had our we lived on half an acre and it was to the base of the mountain, and we had a beautiful vegetable garden. And to your point, I mean, everything from like the green beans to everything, the tomatoes. It's unbelievable. And I was never a big like raw tomato guy, but I could just literally put salt on a tomato and eat it like that.
Oh, yeah. A nice fresh tomato, no doubt. Yeah. And cucumbers. I even had some cucumbers, but those plants I did buy, I wasn't having any cucumbers grew up out of my compost, so I bought a couple different kinds, but the plants only produced a couple of cucumbers each, so I guess I have to have a lot more cucumber plants if I want to have a bushel of cucumbers.
Well, here's an interesting cucumber story. So we had a good friend in New York who loved gardening and had a beautiful vegetable garden. And she planted her cucumber plant next to her jalapenos, and they crossbred, and she had spicy cucumbers.
Oh my gosh, what was that like?
She took a bite out of the cucumber and she's like, whoa, why is this so spicy?
I'll bet that was delicious.
It was. So she pickled them and she had spicy pickled cucumbers. So I guess spicy pickles.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's what I ended up doing with all my cucumbers. They produced at the same time. And, how many cucumbers can you eat? I should have shared them
My
with
son.
Now I know. Okay, that's great. Okay, Kenny, would you like to share your biggest failure in life and what you might have learned from the experience?
Sure. So, yeah, what do you think my biggest failure is? I'd say my biggest failure wound up probably being one of the biggest benefits of my life. And being a kid with a single mom, I was always working. I always had a job when I got older because I had to. Like my mom couldn't afford to buy certain things for me. So if I wanted a car or if I wanted car insurance, I was buying it. So when eventually I went to college, I didn't finish college. I left early. So I was like, I can't keep doing this, having jobs and going to school. And I wasn't doing well because I wasn't paying attention because I'd be tired from working. So finally, after 4 years of being in community college, with about 9 credits to my name, my cousin called me, who was, again, one of my idols. And he goes, you're coming to work with me in the city. You're going to start as a customer service rep. And that's what you're going to do. No ifs, ands, or buts. I said, okay, fine. So that's when I started that job in this industry that I've been in since, 2004.
Yeah.
So I've been doing it now about 20 years.
Awesome.
So yeah, me not having the motivation I don't want to say motivation. That's the wrong word. Not being able to juggle both having a job and doing school, which is mostly my fault because I wasn't interested in school. I would go there and I would go through the motions, and then it would come time. As you can tell, I have like ADHD and super energy, and it comes along with, I have Tourette's also, which it's very mild, luckily. But with that comes all those things. And I just didn't have the attention span to sit there in a classroom and learn things that I knew that I wasn't going to use in my life or I didn't really care about.
Yeah.
So when I got pulled out of that and brought into the world of working and this real job, and I said to myself, this is your opportunity. Don't blow it. I worked customer service for, I think I did it about 2 months, and they were like, you're not in customer service anymore. You're a sales guy. You're working, this account loves you. You're going to work with them. I said, great. So
Nice.
yeah.
Very
from an
good.
adult to
Big
20-year
turnaround.
career.
Yeah. And you don't need a college degree to succeed all the time, do you?
No, you don't.
Yeah. Just think of all the student loans you would have had. Oh my God.
Luckily, there's only a few $1,000s in like community college that I own.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. One other question. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self to give yourself some advice, what would that be?
This is a very easy one. It would be to start my strength training then, because that would be, I was at such a deficit when I started in my 30s. At that age, my 18-year-old age, like I have the ability at that point to put on the muscle, to build the muscle. And then it's so much harder now to do it. I know once I hit 50, it's going to be exponentially harder than it is now. And I've been at 40, almost 42. So that's one thing I would have told myself, because it's, what are they? I forget, it was somebody talk about it. They said it's like it's a reserve. You want to have that, because eventually you can't fill the reserve anymore. And now you're just maintaining what you have.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so I wish I'd done that. I wish I really stayed from out of high school and continued my strength training.
But with that being said, also, people should realize that it's never too late to start strength training.
Absolutely. I was a great example of that. I started doing it in my mid to late 30s. So,
And that's young. That's young in a lot of people's eyes. I've known people that didn't start strength, especially women. A lot of women didn't strength train way back when, but starting in their 40s, even their 50s, it's something, strengthening the muscles, strengthening the bones, to where things don't get worse than what they already are, and keep you healthy and help those joints stay healthy.
Absolutely. I think that is actually probably one of the bigger benefits I've seen out of social media, is getting women more comfortable in the gym.
Yeah.
And into fitness, because when I would go to the gyms when I was younger, when I was in high school, you wouldn't see a lot of women in the gym.
Yeah.
And now they're packed with women. There's probably more women in the gym now than there is men in some of the gyms I go to. I'll go with my buddy to one of the Planet Fitnesses over there, and there's probably more women in there than there are men, which is great.
It is great. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would that be?
I've answered this one before, because this is an easy one for me. It would be to be remembered as a great husband and father.
Very nice.
So the one thing, well, I shouldn't say I didn't have a father growing up. It was them being divorced. It was kind of like not having one. So I could have went two ways. They say you can either be like your father, or you can go the opposite. I went the opposite. I'm an over dad, but yeah, I go to the extreme of being a father.
Well, I love this new generation of dads, 20s, 30s, 40s, year-olds. They are so much more hands-on, the majority of them, than dads were years ago.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to see from the time their children are born, and growing up. It's really nice. I love it. Love seeing that. My son is one of the best fathers I've ever seen, and I'm so darn proud of him.
Yep. I told my wife, I said, if you want to get a job to support all of us, I'll be a stay-at-home dad. I got no problem. I'll be at home with the kids all day. I love it.
That's awesome. Do you like to read?
I love books on tape.
Okay. So do you have any books or podcasts or anything that you would like to share with the audience that you would recommend to help them with their health and fitness?
So I think the best podcast to listen to when it comes to health and fitness for informational purposes is Dr. Peter Attia has a fantastic podcast. And not only is it about, obviously there's some food parts of it, but most of it is fitness and strength training. And it's not even more, it's not geared towards the younger level. It's geared towards people who are older, who can think, again, it's going to be impossible to do this. Being a doctor, everything he does is based off his background. So he's not going after some crazy ideas. Everything is backed by science, and it's really, really good podcast. He lays it out clearly. Sometimes there's things he talks about where I'm like, I have no idea what that is. But, it piques my interest. I'll Google things and figure things out. But some of the studies he talks about, I think, are very motivating for people who think that it's too late. And like you said, me starting in my 30s is young. He talks about a study they had done where it was people, I think, over the age of 80 in walkers, and they got them into strength training. And one of the women who was 82, I think, at the time, was then able to start. I think she was able to deadlift her own body weight by the end of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Very good. Well, I'll have to listen to that one. What was his name again? Dr.
Peter Attia.
Attia. Okay. All right.
And Andrew Huberman is a good food-based one.
Yeah.
He's a-
Okay. Nice. Okay, goals for others. How would you like to present the audience with a goal to reach, and how could they get there?
I think a good goal to reach for the audience would be to run a 5K. I think it's the most attainable. It's one you can start with just walking. It's something that's not going to put someone in the hospital because they're trying to run a marathon who've never run before. You can do it with friends. You can do it with family. I do them with my oldest son. He loves doing. We don't run the whole thing. We walk a lot of it, but it's a great community, and it's going to give you something to push towards that's attainable. Because goals are great. I love goals, but if a goal is unattainable, it's not going to do you any good to set yourself unattainable goals. So something that's within reach, that's going to get people off the couch, get people moving, and have a good time. And when you're done, you can put a medal on the wall. So
There you go.
show your accomplishments.
And involve your children if you have children. Why not? Get them into those healthy lifestyle habits.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that you involve your son. That's awesome.
He likes it too. So
Yeah.
and he pushes me, which is even better.
All right, Kenny, you did an awesome job. Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you. No problem.
All right. Well, you take care and have a great 2024. Get that garden growing come springtime.
This is Angela Grayson from the Loving Life Fitness Podcast to help others in their fitness journey. All possible.
It's time to wake up. Here we